Hi, everybody. It's Chris Kerr. And I'm still recovering from my joyful medical treatment this week and the release that gave me. And that's all positive. Um, but as I'm recovering and I'm trying to figure out kind of my head from a hole in the wall, I ran across an interesting conversation. And that prompted me to ask a question that, um, unusually for me, I'm going to stir the pot with this one. So it talked about communication and communication between people. In particular, the source of this was a single person's um, interaction with other people to find out whether he did right or wrong in that particular circumstance. And there are lots of great unpacking of the particulars of that particular story, but that's his story. Where it led me was into asking another kind of a question, because it is so easy right now, so very, very easy to miscommunicate. Intentionally, unintentionally, doesn't really matter. Miscommunication happens with light speed, especially in social media. And so I want to know something about how we talk to our audiences, how we talk to our prospects. And does the way we talk to them really have as little an impact as we're giving it credit? And what I mean by that is, a lot of us go live, a lot of us do our social media planning, and we write it all out, we copyright it, we edit it, we make it as pretty as we can. We send it out and crickets. Or we send it out and it's controversial and people are fighting and there's comments everywhere and it's Armageddon, right? And it could be anywhere in between. And we take a look at that every so often and say, hey, how's that working for my business? I'm getting great leads. Oh, people are aligned. Everything's wonderful. Or, I'm not getting anything out of it, what have you. So my question goes back to, how do we really understand how we're communicating with our audiences? And there are a couple of wonderful experts in marketing, in particular in my feed, who are really pro taking as controversial a stance as you possibly can to stir up the pot, to really get people revved up. Because what that does is it takes the people who are not in your tribe and they self-exclude. So you don't have to worry about them for the most part. And the people who are in your tribe, they're in your tribe. So they love you. You can do no wrong, all that kind of good stuff. Until you do. Until you differ from what their image of you is enough that they bolt. And then it's your job to raise the next controversial subject, get a whole new crowd of people into your tribe, and away you go. And I've thought about that from a couple of different points of view. And one of them is, how true are you to yourself? Right? We all have to be true to ourselves, but there are different layers of ourselves, and there are different layers of truth that go with that. What I mean by that is, if you take out three core topics, just three core topics from the discussion, you take religion, you take politics, you take sex out of the discussion, because I can't think of any way to start a fight faster than to have a conversation about those three things. If you take those things off the table, and you look at the vast majority of the people out there who are potential prospects for what you sell and what you do, would there be any problem with doing transactions with them? Literally any problem with doing transactions with a vast majority of people who might even completely disagree with you on those three subjects. The other billion subjects that we all deal with every day as human beings, no major disagreements. Those three could be absolutely apoplectic. But if you take that out of the conversation, is there anything that really makes them a bad customer? I offer to you, I submit to you, that the idea in general is no. So if you withhold your business expression of self on those three subjects, you're being perfectly honest and perfectly truthful on the other 99.99999999999% of topics. And your audience is actually perfectly aligned with that, regardless. But is that enough? In business, each of us has a different threshold as to how and what we do. And for some of the expert marketers, they live on that open nerve. And so they're ready to pick a fight. They want to pick a fight. Every time they get a chance, they pick a fight, because that's going to drive a clearer message for all the audience members that would align with their tribe. Makes selling, in some respects, much, much easier. But it also takes that other big pile of audience members and says, you're too caustic for me. You're too strained. You're too focused on the topics that, even if I agree with you, that's too much fighting. And is that something I really want to spend my energy doing? How much business do you lose, really, by engaging in the fights to satisfy what particular need? See, remember, entrepreneurs, we got into business to meet a specific need. Not to fill a specific niche, to meet a specific need. Because if you're not meeting a need, you don't have any customers, period. That game over, done, kaput. If you don't have a solution, everything else is moot. If you have a solution, then you're solving a problem, whatever that problem is. And so you have to ask yourself, what need is being fed, what need is being met by being on that open nerve? Maybe there is a need. Maybe it's a legit, honest thing. Maybe that's something that really works for you, and that's awesome. Maybe you're on the other side of the spectrum, and you're as open as it comes, you're as easygoing as it comes, and you're there to help anybody. Doesn't matter what the circumstance is. Maybe you need to be more selective. Maybe you need to be somewhere in the middle, right? My question to you is, where are you on that spectrum? What do you believe is the way that you serve your tribe best? How do you serve your audience best? Is it by being particularly vocal on really controversial stuff? Is it by being selective and not engaging in those fights so you can focus on dealing with the largest number of prospects that you can help, that you can solve? What is the approach that works best for you in your business? Feel free to engage in the comments below. Let's have a conversation. Keep it polite, folks. But I'm curious to see what your thoughts are, because this is a topic that major marketers all over the world fight about every day. Every day. I'm seeing more and more conversations about it. And yet, no one's talking about it from the opposite side of the spectrum. No one's talking about it from the customer's perspective. From the customer's perspective, how do you feel about people who are not necessarily engaged in those really core topics versus the people who are, like I said, that wide open nerve, it's just a throbbing nerve, and everything comes out as charged as can be? And how do you as a customer kind of feel about the people in the middle? How do you feel as a business about the customers who are in the middle, or customers who are on one side or the other? That difference in tone, that difference in vocabulary, that difference in topicality. When we're doing PR projects, it's a huge part of what we're doing is we're trying to hook into current news. But do you want to hook into the angry news? Do you want customers to only see the angry side? Or are you looking for customers who are happy, generally speaking? Do the angry customers make the best customers because they're decisive? Or are they not necessarily decisive? Maybe they're decisive and then they chew your butt, right? What's your experience with that? How does that motivate you? How does that demotivate you? Those conversations are the ones we're not having. Those conversations aren't talking about your company culture. Those conversations aren't talking about how your employees engage with your customers within the context of your company culture in order to provide the kind of solutions that your customers need and that they're paying for. If you're not having those conversations, then how are you really and truly optimizing your business and serving your customers the best way you can? How are you getting the right feedback from your customers in order to be able to innovate and challenge and disrupt? Because let's face it, most of the people that I'm talking about, they're small business owners. These aren't the megalopolies. These are generally the small business owners. But even the megalopolies, right? If you're that big a company, how do you hear your customers in a way that isn't through a call center? That isn't from a rote SOP manual and check this box. How do you get real feedback on how you communicate with your customers beyond some kind of hotspots and some generic analytics? You can get bellwether stuff, but how does that apply in the context of the culture that you're building for your company? Again, let me know in the comments. Let's have that debate. Let's have that discussion about how businesses communicate with their audiences, how they communicate within their company culture versus how they think they're communicating, right? Versus how we feel we're communicating and why we think we're doing it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm going to go back to resting and knocking some things off my list. But thanks so much again, and look forward to seeing your comments down below. Cheers for now.